Has been a great day. Welcome back to another episode of Pizza Technologies, or as it said, Coding with Pizza Technologies. I am your host, Keith Baraka, and today we are going to be doing HTML and CSS. HTML, CSS. Okay, let's open our notebook here. HTML, CSS. Now, what does CSS mean? This stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Okay. Now, CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. Okay, now a bit deeper. What is CSS? Now, CSS, cascading style sheets, is used to format the layout of a page. Therefore, with CSS, you can control the color, font, the size of text. Wait. With CSS, you can control the color, font, the size of text, the spacing between elements, how elements are positioned and laid out, what background images or background colors are to be used, different displays for different devices and screen sizes, and much, much more. Okay, using CSS. CSS can be added to HTML documents in three ways. Okay, inline, by using the style attribute inside HTML elements. Internal, by using a style element in the head section. External, by using a link element to an external CSS file. Okay, the most common way to add CSS is to keep styles in an external CSS file. However, here we're going to use inline and internal styles because it's easier to demonstrate and it is easier for you to try for yourself. Okay, now we are here. Inline CSS. An inline CSS is used to apply a unique style to a single HTML element. It uses An inline CSS style uses an attribute, the style attribute. Wait, wrong here. Uses the style attribute of a HTML element. The following example, which we are about to do on Dreamweaver, sets the text color of the element to blue and the text color of the paragraph element to red. Okay, so where is each one? Here, let's say change the paragraph here. Now, it was to be color. Remember, HTML is not case sensitive, but we still change it though. Color is blue. Okay. Color is blue. Now, here we were supposed to change style. Is equal to okay. Oh wait, goes here. Yes. Now that makes sense. As you can see, paragraph, the H1, the first header has changed to red, and the paragraph changed to blue. Okay. You could try it for yourself as well, and you try with other colors, see what will happen. What is an internal CSS? Now, an internal CSS is used to define a style for a single HTML page. An internal CSS is defined in the head section of the HTML page within a style element. Now, the example that we are about to do in Dreamweaver here will give you a typical idea of what I mean. Okay, now this is the body. Okay, the body let us change something. Nope, this is not how it works. Let me give you a post body. Head, style, let us pick it code level. body you can try pale violet red. And now, as you can see, it changed a lot of the code. Now, external CSS, on the other hand, an external style sheet is used to define the style of many HTML pages. Okay. To use an external style sheet, add a link to it in the head section of each HTML page. Okay, I will show you in a bit. Instead of having all these, could delete that. Delete this as well. Delete that as well. Now, we'll have a link. Style sheet. Okay. Now, this one is the link. This is what we mean by the link. Now, let's keep going. The external style sheet can be written in any text editor. Currently, we will be using Dreamweaver. The file must not contain any HTML code and must be saved with a CSS extension. Here is what one would look like. Where is Dreamweaver? Now, go to File, open New, CSS, create. Now, that is a CSS document. It will have body, background, color, let's try Peru. Then there is H1, color, let's try fabric, for example. Then there is P, color dark golden dot. Okay, and we're going to save this as styles.css. Yes, styles.css. I'm going to save it as styles. Styles.css. Saved really nicely. Now let's create a good link now. The moment you bring it nicely, it will give you everything you need, like we wanted it. Okay, and here is what this styles.css looks like. Ours is not exactly the most beautiful one. And now we will go to CSS colors, fonts, and sizes. Okay, here we will demonstrate some commonly used CSS properties. Now, the CSS color property defines the text color to be used. Okay. The CSS font family defines the font to be used. And the CSS font size defines the text size to be used. Okay, let's take an example. Okay, now in our example, we will create a new HTML source file. New HTML. Go. You can name it whatever you want. Now, here we have head. We can do style. Okay. Within style, you can do h1. Let's take charter use. Okay. The font family. We could do Gotham. And then font size, we could do 300%. Okay, and then we'll still do for P, for the paragraphs basically, because we still need them, and where we will do color, you can find a color here, crimson, nice color. Then you can do font, on the font size, okay, and then we're going to do body, where we're going to give a H1, you can clearly see the CSS color font family font size properties have changed a lot in our CSS file here, in our HTML file basically. Now we go back to CSS border. Okay, now the CSS border property defines a border around a HTML document or a HTML element. Okay, let's go to Dreamweaver and get it. Well, now we already did all these. We also can create one more border. That is a number, we do not want a number, so we'll take powder blue. Okay, now whatever has formed around I am a cow is a border. Okay, now we're going to move on to CSS padding. Now the CSS padding property defines a padding space between the text and the border. Let's find it. The border is here. We're going to create a padding. Okay, now this is a padding here where it has created a border all around the I am a cow text. Of course, I'm not a cow. CSS margin is also something else we really need to learn. Okay. The CSS margin property defines a margin space outside the border. Okay. Let's go and create a margin now. Margin you can clearly see that it has moved. Therefore, we have created a margin. That's what we wanted, right? Now, link to an external CSS An external style sheet can be referred with a full URL or with a path relative to the current web page. Okay. For example, wait. Okay. For some reason, it's giving me oh yes, I've seen why I've placed it wrong. It's supposed to be here. Oh, there's that. As you can clearly see, the external CSS link has given it a touch of an actual CSS file. Okay. Now, let's do a summary. We use the HTML style attribute for inline styling. We use the HTML style element to define internal CSS. We use the HTML link element to refer to an external CSS file. We use the HTML head element to store the style and link elements. We use the CSS color property for text colors. We use the CSS font family property for text fonts. Use the CSS font size for font size property for text sizes. We use the border property for borders. Use the CSS padding property for space inside the border. Use the CSS margin property for space outside the border. Now, go and try to set a background color of a HTML document with all the 3 CSS styles. Have a good evening or a good night. It was fun. Feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you.